This is the part that's exciting, and a lot of people fall in love with this. All right, guys, we're just gonna rock right into part two. I'm sure you can see a little bit of where we just did part one up here. So in part two, this is where that 69% principle really starts to get fun. You start to see it compound over time. And I like to think of this as a graph. On one side of this graph, up here at the very top, you're gonna have risk. When you're young in your business, when you don't have anything to lose, when you're not married, when you're early on, you have a bigger appetite for risk, right? And that's okay. You're gonna take some big swings early on, and you should. And I'm 36 and starting over, and I'm taking some big swings. That's okay, you know what I mean? But you need to keep that in mind because of this other principle. So as you take these big swings, before we draw this full, well, let's draw the graph first. So this is you down here, obviously. This is time over here. And then up here is wealth. All right, so now obviously the goal is for you over time to become wealthy. So you're gonna want this to move like this. If you apply the 69% principle over time and you stack good assets, time and time and time again, you're just gonna slowly but surely ease your way over this way. Now, risk. Risk, as you get wealthier, and if you know any wealthy people, if you deal with it in business, they are usually the most cautious, and let me tell you why. So your risk over time is gonna go this way. Now it's gonna go that way for a multitude of reasons. One of the reasons your risk is gonna decrease over time while you are getting wealthier is because if you stay in the same industry and you're doing the same thing, and you're learning your business, and you're truly a lifelong student, you're gonna understand everything about your business more. You're gonna have lived through a couple of market cycles, and just inherently by becoming smarter and more educated, everything is gonna be less risky. So maybe some of these things at the beginning, maybe some of those big swings you took early on that worked out, maybe as you get farther on, they don't seem as risky because it takes a less percentage of your capital to do them because you understand the market that much more. For me, it would be like big rehabs because the upside of those is usually pretty good because nobody else wants to do them. But as I've learned, which this is actually knowledge as well. So as your knowledge and your wealth is increasing, your appetite for risk is decreasing, but also the more you learn, the less risk you have. It's just that simple. When it comes to risk, what I was gonna say at the beginning and what I'm saying now, let's say you have 100 grand, 100K, right? If I lose half of it in a bad investment, in a risky investment, now I have 50K. Now I have to double my money to get back to where I started. If you're wealthy, does that make sense? To take that big of a swing? No, it doesn't. And so what you want to do is you want to apply that 69% principle. And if you have 100K, let's call it 100K, you're going to go and you're going to make very calculated and responsible decisions where you can make 25, 40%, things like that. And over time, you do that 2 or 3 times, you're going to keep stacking those good investments down here. And that is how this curve is going to happen. It's incredibly boring. But unless you have an idea that is truly going to change the world or create a new market, these are the principles to operate inside of the market that currently exists. And you'll never beat the market, you'll never beat the bank because they are the system and they're designed not to fail. They are too big to fail. You're just not going to beat them. And a lot of people, they do these principles and then they start to think that they're smarter than the market, or they start to think they know something, or they start to think that they could beat the bank if they did this or this or this. And most of the time, that's just not true. Wealth is built slowly but surely through principled investment. And you have to be disciplined, and you have to not get distracted with the shiny things. And yeah, you're just stacking your good investments over time. It's not exciting. It's pretty boring. And the most exciting part is the first 3 years where you're taking these risks, where you're swinging big. After that, this is all systems, this is all management, this is all product quality. None of that made you excited. This is the part that's exciting. And a lot of people fall in love with this. And then 3 years down the road, when it's time to do this, they get bored, they get absent. That's why there's a lot of absent business owners. And then these investments, you stop being the savvy deal maker that you were here, buying it at 69% and less, and negotiating hard. You stop, and slowly but surely, this starts to flatten out. And then you're not there, and then it goes down. And then you didn't build any systems, and then something happens in your life. You get married, you have a tragedy, you can't work as much, and then the curve starts heading the other way. And then down here, when you start heading the other way, those people start swinging big again. And when they're here and they're swinging big again, I know that. I know what it's like to have a failing business and start swinging big again. Then this becomes even more of an issue where if you have 100 grand and you lose 50% of it, swinging big because thought you were going to make 300 and put this curve back on the right track, that's where it falls apart. Because then you have half of the capital you started with. And then you have to swing big again. And slowly but surely it deteriorates until you're down here and you take out. So, same thing as last time. Buy it cheaper than you need to. Be disciplined. And just know and trust that over time you're doing the right thing. Thanks for tuning in. Building blocks. These are the more practical things that we're applying going forward.